You're being charged right now, not by your bank, not by your credit card, and no notification is going to pop up on your phone about it. But every single time you open Facebook, Google, or TikTok, a transaction happens. You just never see the invoice. There's a quote that's been floating around the internet for over a decade now. A guy named Andrew Lewis posted it on Metafilter back in 2010. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. Most people nod when they hear that. Yeah, ads. I get it. But here's the thing. Most people are completely wrong about what's actually being sold and how much it's actually worth. Last year, Meta, the company that owns Facebook and Instagram, made $49.63 in advertising revenue per user worldwide. That's the average. If you live in the US or Canada, they pulled in closer to $68 per user every year without charging you a single dollar. Google's ad business, $265 billion in 2024 in a single year. That's not a rounding error. That is one of the largest wealth transfers in human history, and most people participating in it have no idea it's happening. So today, we're going to understand exactly how this machine works, whether it's as sinister as it sounds, and what, if anything, you should do about it. First, we need to fix a common mistake. When people say, the internet is free, they're actually talking about three very different things. And these three things are not the same. Type 1, freemium. You get a basic version free. You pay for the good stuff. Think Spotify, LinkedIn, Duolingo. The game here is simple. Hook you with the free tier, then convert you into a paying customer. Industry average conversion rate, about 2 to 5%, which means 95% of users never pay, but that free tier exists specifically as bait. Type 2, attention supported, completely free. You pay with your eyeballs. YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. You watch a 30-second ad before a video. Advertisers pay the platform. Platform pays the creator. And you, technically, just earned the platform money by watching. Type 3, data monetized. This one is sneakier. Google Search, Google Maps, Gmail, all completely free. No ads cluttering your search results in the traditional sense. But every search you make, every route you navigate, every email you send, it's being cataloged. That catalog is what makes Google worth hundreds of billions of dollars. These three models look similar on the surface. They're not. They charge you in completely different currencies: money, attention, and behavioral data. And the deeper you go into the second and third category, the more interesting things get. All right, here's the part most people skip over. They hear Facebook sells your data to advertisers, and they picture some guy in a trench coat handing a USB drive full of your selfies to a car insurance company. That's not what happens. What actually happens is far more elegant, and frankly, more unsettling. It works in 4 steps, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Step 1, collection. Every time you use one of these platforms, you're generating data, not just what you post, what you pause on, what you almost clicked but didn't, how long you stared at a photo before scrolling. TikTok users in the US now spend an average of nearly an hour a day on the app. That's roughly 350 hours a year. 350 hours of granular behavioral data collected every second. Step 2, prediction. All that data gets fed into machine learning models. The platform isn't just learning what you like, it's learning how to predict what you'll do next, what you'll buy, what you're afraid of, what you secretly want. These models get frighteningly accurate over time. Step 3, the sale. Here's the thing that most people fundamentally misunderstand. The platform doesn't sell your data, it sells access to your behavior. An advertiser doesn't get a file with your name on it. What they get is the ability to reach 35-year-old who recently Googled anxiety medication, lives in a zip code with median income above $80,000, and has been spending more time on finance content lately. The product isn't your information. The product is the platform's ability to change what you do next. Scholar Shoshana Zuboff, who literally wrote the book on this, and the book is called The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, describes it this way. These companies are not just selling ad space. They are selling certainty about future human behavior to anyone willing to pay. Step 4. Reinvestment. The revenue gets plowed back into making the product more addictive. Better algorithms, more personalized feeds, features designed to keep you in the app for one more minute, which generates more data, which makes the predictions better, which makes advertisers pay more. It's a loop, a very, very well-funded loop. The most jaw-dropping real-world example of this system, working exactly as designed, is Cambridge Analytica. In 2018, it came out that a political consulting firm had harvested the psychological profiles of roughly 87 million Facebook users without their knowledge, and used that data to micro-target voters during the 2016 U.S. election and Brexit campaign. Facebook didn't hand the data over. It was scraped through a legitimate app. The platform's infrastructure made it possible. The data didn't just sell products, it nudged election outcomes. That's not hyperbole. That's what the model is capable of. But here's where I want to pump the brakes, because if you've been nodding along this whole time thinking, yes, evil corporations, I knew it, you might be falling into a different trap, the trap of an incomplete picture. Let's actually stress test this argument. 3 pushbacks. Pushback 1. What if users are genuinely getting a good deal? MIT economists Eric Brynjolfsson and Johi O did a study trying to put a dollar value on free internet services. Their estimate for the value of Google search alone? Roughly $17,000 per person per year if you had to replace it with paid alternatives. Think about that. You get Google Maps, Gmail, Search, YouTube, Google Docs, all for $0. Meta is making $68 a year off you in the US, but the services might be delivering thousands of dollars of value back to you. Looked at that way, this is less exploitation and more a very aggressive coupon. Is that framing naive? Maybe, but it's worth sitting with. Pushback 2. Does this advertising machine actually work? Here's a somewhat embarrassing fact for the entire industry. Roughly 1 in 3 internet users globally, about 29 to 32%, actively uses an ad blocker. In the US, it's similar. These are people who have explicitly opted out of the core product being sold. If the system is so sophisticated at predicting and influencing behavior, why are hundreds of millions of people successfully ignoring it? Banner blindness, the psychological phenomenon where people literally stop seeing display ads, is well documented. Some researchers suggest click-through rates on display ads hover around 0.1%. So, if the ad product is this powerful, why does it sometimes feel like shouting into the void? Pushback 3. What's the alternative? Imagine a world where Google, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok all charged a monthly subscription, say $10 to $15 each. That's $40 to $60 a month for the apps most people use daily. Not a lot for someone in San Francisco, but a significant barrier for someone in rural India or a teenager with no income. The ad-supported model, for all its flaws, created something unprecedented, a global, free information infrastructure. Wikipedia, YouTube tutorials, free translation, free navigation. Whether that trade-off was worth it is genuinely not a settled question. Both sides have a point here. And that complexity is exactly why the next layer matters. You've heard this phrase, data is the new oil. It was coined by a British mathematician named Clive Humby back in 2006. And like most catchy one-liners, it's half right and half dangerously misleading. Where it's right, data, like oil, has enormous value after refinement. Raw crude is useless until it's processed into fuel. Raw behavioral data is useless until it's processed into predictions. And like oil, it's a resource that generates massive economic and political power. Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Amazon, Alphabet, the 5 largest companies in the world by market cap. 4 of them are built largely on data. Compared to the biggest oil companies, it's not even close. Where the analogy breaks, and this is the important part, oil runs out. You burn it, it's gone. Data doesn't work like that. The same dataset can be sold, analyzed, and reused infinitely. It doesn't deplete. Oil has a clear owner. You pump it from your land, it's yours. Data ownership is legally murky almost everywhere. Your behavioral data is technically stored on their servers, processed by their algorithms, and sold by them. You generated it. You own almost none of it. And here's the really alarming difference. Oil's value doesn't grow exponentially with scale the way data does. The more data a company has, the better its models get. The better its models get, the more accurately it can predict behavior. The more accurately it can predict behavior, the more it can charge advertisers, which gives it the money to collect even more data. This creates a compounding monopoly that no oil company has ever had. ExxonMobil can't make oil more valuable just by having more of it. Google can. That's why regulators are starting to sweat. The EU's GDPR and California's CCPA are both attempts to give individuals some control back, the right to see what's been collected, to request deletion, to opt out of certain uses. In May 2023, the EU fined Meta a record €1.2 billion, the largest GDPR fine ever, for transferring European user data to US servers without adequate safeguards. That's not a slap on the wrist. That's a signal that governments are starting to take data power seriously in a way they never took oil power seriously until it was too late. So, what's the take? I'm not going to tell you to delete Facebook. I'm not going to tell you to move off the grid and grow your own vegetables. That's not useful. But I do want to offer 3 genuinely actionable things in order of how much effort they require. Level 1. Change how you think, not what you do. The single most valuable shift is just recognizing that every interaction is a transaction. Every search, every scroll, every minute of watch time, it's currency. You might decide the exchange is worth it. That's fine. But doing it consciously is different from doing it on autopilot. Level 2. Small friction, real impact. Check what permissions you've granted your apps. Go to your phone settings right now. Check which apps have access to your location, your microphone, your contacts. You'll be surprised. On Facebook, there's a tool called Off Facebook Activity. It shows you the list of websites and apps that have been sending your browsing data to Meta. Most people who check it for the first time have the same reaction. Oh, consider using a browser like Brave or switching your default search to DuckDuckGo. You don't have to use them for everything, but diversifying your data trail is the equivalent of not putting all your eggs in one basket. Level 3. Pay attention to the policy conversation. This one takes the least personal effort but has the most systemic impact. The EU's GDPR and California's CCPA exist because people paid attention and pushed their governments to act. The right to be forgotten and the ability to request that a platform delete your data is now a legal right in Europe. It isn't everywhere. That gap is a political choice, and political choices can change. Here's how I want to leave you. The question isn't, should I use the internet? The question is, am I using it or is it using me? Those can both be true at the same time. Understanding the distinction is the first step toward having a real answer. Quick question before you go, and this one is genuinely interesting. If Facebook launched a paid version, $10 a month, no ads, no data collection, no algorithm designed to keep you scrolling, just the social network, would you pay for it? Drop your answer in the comments. And more importantly, drop your reason. Because I've seen this question spark some of the most interesting arguments I've come across online. And if you found this useful, there's more where this came from. See you in the next one.